Boxing fans, right now I'm talking about Amir Khan, talking about Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia knocks Amir Khan out. That's what I'm talking about. I predicted Amir Khan win by knockout. I got this one spectacularly wrong, but then again I think most people did. Well, the first thing I've got to say is I think you've just seen the very last of Amir Khan on the top level. I don't see how he can come back from this and have a top level career. He's not going to get a fight with Mayweather. He's definitely not going to get a fight with Manny Pacquiao, and I don't see how he's going to come back from this. He's going to have to take a lot of risky fights if he is. He's going to have to fight at 147 pounds, but even then I don't see the point because there's a lot bigger punches up there and he doesn't have a brilliant chin, and that's what I've got to say. Quick round by round, and I'm going to go with firstly the first round. Amir Khan came out very aggressive. He planted his feet. The first punch he thrown was actually a good punch, it was a 1-2 down the pipe, landed it, Danny Garcia was on his back heels for the second, did stun him, but he didn't feel the power, the difference between stunning a guy and feeling his power. Amir Khan felt Danny Garcia's power in the third round and the fourth round. Like I thought, he would come out with speed. He did come out very fast. He was working his socks off, to be honest. The first round I gave to Amir Khan, I thought if he keeps to an in and out movement, this is going to be his fight all night. It's until he wants to stop it. You see, then the second round happened, and it was more of the same. Danny Garcia, I thought, looked very crude. I'm just saying this, I've got to point out the truth. You're going to get some real harsh truths in this one for both Amir Khan and Danny Garcia. Unfortunately, he was lacking in speed. His foot movement wasn't great, and every time he threw the right hand, he put himself off balance. And then we went into the third round. There's always that little warning sign in round 1 and 2, because even in the first little exchange, Danny Garcia was throwing the hooks, and like we said, he's a hooker. We know what he's going to do. What his game plan has not changed from any of his other fights. You can see his plan of action and how he's going to try and take you out. So you should be trying to sort your way out from that. You see what I'm saying? But Amir Khan didn't do that, no. Because Amir Khan likes to fight with a chip on his shoulder. I was actually watching this fight with a sports scientist. Someone's got a sports science degree, and he was telling me, when that punch landed. Firstly, I just knew straight away, Amir Khan's gone. That's it. I could have switched the TV off then and went to bed, and I know maybe you would have survived that round, but I thought, it's over. It's pretty much over. I think I tweeted, it's over, and I got a few, it's over. You know what I mean? It was always going to be over from that punch. You see, my mate told me, right, if he hit that punch 2 inches higher, he had a 60% chance of breaking Amir Khan's neck. That's how punch perfect it was. It was a brilliant punch. He dropped him. Amir Khan's defences were low, and he was stunned. He couldn't get up. He just about got up. The referee gave him enough time. You know what I mean? He gave him every opportunity in the world, and then he made it out of round 4. He come out. The first knockdown there, it was more of a slip. You know what I mean? But I think it's been confirmed by someone that it was like, my legs, I can't sort my legs out. But it was like, what's the best way to put this? It was because of the punch. And then the one at the end, he was standing there trading with the guy, trading punches with the guy. And I'm thinking, just hold him, just admit you've lost this round, hold him, and then regroup. Then he went down again and just went, I'll just call it. You know what I mean? Just call it. And that was it. He did call it. And I've got no problem with a stoppage because he was taking too many punches. Now, here's some of these home truths I'm about to tell Amir Khan, okay? Basically, Amir Khan fights with a chip on his shoulder. If you wind him up in the pre-fight press conference, he will train and come out to try and fight you at your game plan. He did it against Maidana. He could have made it so much easier than it was. He did it against Lamont Peterson. He fought Lamont Peterson. He was gearing up to fight Lamont Peterson again, toe-to-toe, all night. I think he would have lost Lamont Peterson based on that performance. And, Angel Garcia was going, you're overrated, you can't take a punch. So he comes out, tries to stand toe-to-toe with a hooker, a guy who's got a decent punch, and then gets himself knocked out. You understand? I totally understand what's happened here. You see, what has happened here is you've just been a recipient of some psychological warfare. I'm just going to put this one out here too. I'm not sure that Amir Khan has got that much better at all since he joined Freddie Roach. Especially defensively, I think he's regressed defensively. In terms of tactical and mental boxing, I think he's regressed significantly. The thing about Amir Khan, as I honestly think, is the problem has always been that he's made the wrong decisions. Firstly, he did leave his British trainer. He got with some other guy who I can't remember who it was, and he got his ass knocked out to Lamont Peterson because he was an arrogant bastard, and also there was a language barrier, and also they didn't see this guy fight, and hence he got knocked out. They moved to Roach. Obviously, Roach is a good trainer. He's past his best in days of that. I've got to point that out. He's also not the number one guy in the gym. I just think he needs to be the number one guy in the gym. I don't think that it's necessarily the best thing to go to America. There's some people who I honestly believe, and I stick by this 110%, no matter what anyone will say, that sometimes if you're the number one guy, you're in a British gym, and you've got your feet on the ground, you're with a guy who's going to make sure and just work with you well. I think Amir Khan would work so much better with an Adam Booth type fighter, an actual tactical coach, one who's going to drill into him a game plan and say you fight by that game plan, or you don't fight with us at all. You know what I mean? That's what I think he needs, but he doesn't, because he can't stick to a game plan. That's the problem. There's a lot of people who disagree with that comment, and I just want to point this out to you. See, basically, Amir Khan, the root of Amir Khan's problems is his ego. He cannot fight to a game plan. His ego gets the better of him. He must fight wherever the opponent wants to fight, how the opponent wants to fight, etc., etc. And that is the root of the problem. You see, David Haye has an even bigger ego, however, he doesn't let it rule the game plan. You see what I mean? And that's why I think Adam Booth, being the tactical genius behind it, would need to drill this into someone like Amir Khan. I just don't see a person who, like Roach, and let's be real, Roach hasn't got long left in the game. He's got a degenerative disease, which is Parkinson's, and I'm not dissing the man, but if you've got Parkinson's disease, I'm sorry, you've not got long left. It's a very bad disease, and I wish him all the best, but I was watching the Sky thing, behind the ropes, and it was playing up bad on that. They don't usually show him on TV when his Parkinson's is that bad, but that's going to impact the training, it will. Just get that into your head. That's going to impact the training. It's going to impact how the game plan comes across. He needs someone else. He's got to jump that ship, I'll tell you that now. And I mean, based on what you've just seen, can you actually say anything that I've just said is not true? Of course it's 100% true. The guy's got a little defense. He's got a little chin. How can you not have a good defense and have no chin, and try and succeed at world level? That's just an oxymoron. Credit where it's due, okay. He's got a lot of heart. He does try and keep getting up. He always comes to fight, and he's a bit exciting, but that's because he's so vulnerable. There's no other way of putting it. So where did they both go from here? And I'm going to start with Danny Garcia. There's a lot of doors open for Garcia right now. However, let's take it with a pinch of salt. He did look outclassed in the first 3 rounds until he landed that brilliant shot. You see, anyone with speed is going to do this guy a lot of problems. You see, I would say put him in with a Lucas Matisse, or put him in with Peterson. I'd like to see them fight. Who's that other guy he's supposed to fight? Balls. He was supposed to be WBC mandatory, but they jacked him off for Amir Khan. So seems like a good idea now. Yeah, maybe him as well. I would keep him at £140. There's a lot of guys at £147 who are a lot quicker than him who could take this guy apart. I would say keep him here for now. Wait until there's a better opportunity at £147. There's just not one now. Moving on to Amir King Khan. That's the last time people are going to refer to him as King, I can tell you that. Basically, the only good thing is that the Kell Brook fight looks like it could actually happen now. He's got nowhere to go other than the Kell Brook fight at 147 pounds. He can't go back down to lightweight. He's too big now. You know, he says he's killing the weight at 140, so he's going to go to 147. He's got little chin, little defense. He needs a new trainer. There's a lot of stuff that has to be ironed out before he can even do anything. I think he needs to take a year out of the ring. Just go away for a bit, Amir. Just go away for a bit. Take a year out. Come back. Give yourself a few victories that you can win. Maybe get a new TV deal with someone like ESPN or the new BT channel that's going to come out soon. Jump the Sky ship. Sky are a disgrace. Sorry, I almost burped. What else can I say? You know, where else can he go from there? I don't see where he goes from there. Someone said Victor Ortiz, Amir Khan is a big chance. Well, I understand that. You know, there's a possibility, but I just don't see Amir Khan winning that fight. I just don't see him winning that fight. I don't see how he's ever going to get in the ring with a Mayweather now, or a pound for pound great. I think he's always... Yeah, I think, you know, if Paulie Malignaggi can win another world title, I think there's always an outside... He could have a rematch with Paulie Malignaggi. Maybe Paulie would want that. You know, that's all I'm going to say, you know. I don't know. Maybe Lamont Peterson rematch. Maybe at 147 pounds. Maybe. Either way, you know, the game's over for Amir Khan now. At you know, pound for pound and probably world level. I don't know if he'll ever hold a world title again. I wouldn't put my money on it anyway.